Have you ever felt like your apps are trying to, well, get you to do things? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the digital world. We're going to look at those invisible forces in every app and website you use, the subtle design choices that guide your clicks, shape your habits, and persuade you in ways you probably never even notice. So, how are they doing it? Let's dive in. It all starts with a question I'm willing to bet you've asked yourself. You see a free trial offer, and signing up is just so easy. A click or two, and boom, you're in. But when it's time to cancel, all of a sudden you're lost in this confusing maze of hidden menus and weird options. Here's the thing. That's not an accident. It's a deliberate design, and we're about to figure out exactly how it works. So to solve this little mystery, we first need to get our hands on the three basic tools that designers use to build these persuasive experiences. Think of this as our secret decoder ring for the entire digital world. Okay, first up is affordance. Now, I know it's a bit of a fancy word, but it's a really simple idea. A design should just look like what it does. A button looks like it can be pushed. A slider looks like it can be dragged. It's the obvious action that the design affords you. Simple as that. Next, we've got the nudge. A nudge is just a gentle push in a specific direction. The design doesn't actually force your hand, but it makes one choice way more appealing or just plain easier than the others. It's the designer subtly whispering in your ear, hey, you should probably do this. And finally, there's friction. Friction is any obstacle, big or small, that makes a task harder. It's the digital version of a speed bump or a locked door. Sometimes, yeah, it's just bad design, but a lot of the time, it's put there on purpose. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting because it's how these three things work together. This table sums it up perfectly. Affordance shows you what you can do. A nudge points you toward what the designer thinks you should do, and friction, that makes it harder to do what they think you shouldn't do. See, it's a whole system for guiding your behavior. All right, now that we have our toolkit, let's become digital detectives. We're going to go out into the wild and start spotting these concepts, and you'll see how they're being used to shape our choices every single day. Let's start with something we all see 1,000 times a day, the humble like button. It seems so simple, right? But it is an absolute masterpiece of persuasive design. So let's break this down. The affordance is obvious. It's a button. It just begs to be clicked. But the nudge is where the real genius is. It's almost always the biggest, boldest, most colorful thing on the screen. And then they throw in social proof. Seeing a post has 10,000 likes, well, that nudges you to agree with the crowd. And what's the goal? To get you engaged with quick, easy, impulsive clicks that keep you scrolling on the platform for longer. Okay, next up, let's head into the world of online shopping, which is really a masterclass in managing friction. Designers here are playing this really delicate game. They're removing all the friction to get your money, and then they're adding it back in to stop you from leaving. And this just shows that two-sided strategy perfectly. To get you to buy something, they remove every possible roadblock. One-click ordering, guest checkouts, auto-filling your address. It's like a smooth, frictionless slide straight to the purchase. But the moment you try to cancel that subscription, suddenly, friction is everywhere. You get nudged to continue shopping, the cancellation menus are buried deep, and you get hit with those "Are you sure?" pop-ups offering you discounts. It's a labyrinth, and it's designed to keep you in. Now, let's look at an even more manipulative version of this, something that's often called a dark pattern. You've seen these everywhere, the cookie and privacy consent pop-up. The design here is so deliberately unbalanced. The Accept All button is this huge, colorful, zero-friction affordance. One click, you're done. But what if you actually want to protect your privacy? Well, the Reject All option is usually this tiny, gray text link, and clicking it takes you to a complex menu with dozens of confusing toggles. They've basically weaponized friction to nudge you into just giving up your data because, let's be honest, it's just the easiest option. So after all of that, it would be really easy to think that friction is always the bad guy, right? That it's always used to trick us. But that's not the whole story. Sometimes, a well-placed roadblock is actually there to help you. So let's compare. On the right, that's strategic friction, that confusing maze to cancel a subscription which only serves the company. But on the left, we have beneficial friction. Just think about when you go to delete an important file, that little pop-up that asks, "Are you sure this can't be undone?" Well, that's friction. That's a speed bump. And that's the key difference. Beneficial friction is a nudge towards caution. It's designed to protect you, the user. It makes you pause and think before you do something costly or worse, irreversible. It's friction as a safety net. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that you now have a superpower. Seriously, you can now see the hidden language behind the design of pretty much every screen you look at. You can use this simple checklist. The next time you're on a website or in an app, just ask yourself these questions. What actions are possible here? Which option is being made the easiest? Is anything being made difficult? And is that friction there for my benefit or for the company's? When you start asking these questions, it changes everything. Because now you can see the truth. You're not just mindlessly tapping on a piece of glass anymore. You are actively navigating a landscape that has been carefully and deliberately architected to persuade you. You can see the code. And so I'll just leave you with one final thought to take with you. Go ahead, look at the screen you're watching this on. Look at the app it's playing in. Based on everything we just talked about, what is it nudging you to do next?